companies and startups. Established companies that want to start an off-site skunkworks operation to do innovation of a new product or a new design where they're not constrained by the corporate culture of their facility. They can come in, work with Purdue, work with other small startups that may help them innovate and get around a problem that they may have. And they could be there for a couple of years at a time. Startup companies, obviously, just getting them off the ground with a great idea. They will be fully vetted before they get space here, but try to make the space very reasonable, cost-effective for everyone. And because of the fact that we will start the building with no debt, we should be able to do that pretty easily. So that's the future. And then go ahead, a couple more pictures, scroll down. So that's a concept of the entrance. Another side view. This is an evening view. You can see the gallery here. We've got some cars in there just to show automotive innovation. And then this is our wind turbine project. And let me, I need to probably activate this. So this wind turbine, we started with the Vertipod 2, which if you remember that was that flying platform you saw me flying the thing. We turned this into a wind turbine by taking the drivetrain off of it and using two counter-rotating blades, turning multiple generators. We did a Purdue project last year with a class, and it was a freshman class, and they actually built a working model of this. And this year, Purdue is funded, and we are getting a bunch of other corporate sponsorships in our area to build this counter-rotating coaxial wind turbine. There'll be about a 3 kilowatt average output on these wind turbines. And they'll generate enough power, and also there'll be a large advertising billboard on the back of it as a tail. The return on investment is somewhere between 15 and 17 years in terms of return on investment. So about a 7% return on investment per year. And we're getting a great deal of interest from companies as well as institutions and communities in our area for this wind turbine project. Why? Partly because it's a collaborative effort between industry, communities, and educational facilities. So you can have kids of all ages be involved in this wind turbine production, whether that be learning how to weld, learning things about electricity, learning things about aerodynamics, learning civil engineering skills, learning things about carbon credits and the green energy economy. There's just a lot of ways in which this interfaces with the educational experience, but then it's also practical. So it's not just building a statue or a monument, it's something that people can point to. And because of the counter-rotating blades, it's different. People are going to look at that and say, oh, okay, I've seen wind turbines before, I've never seen wind turbines with blades that turn opposite each other. And so we are really excited about this as an opportunity both to generate funding for the operations of the Plant 3 Center, as well as to create educational opportunities and outlets for our local community and create green energy along the way. So, applied innovation. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about, just the innovative process in general. You've heard our story and kind of what we're doing right now. But how does that translate? And so we are excited about the idea of taking what we have learned and sharing that with others, communities, and they can take parts of it or all of it as something that they can then apply in their communities. Where you have the opportunity to see kids grow up inspired by the idea that there is hope in their community. We have a big issue with brain drain. Our smartest kids go to school somewhere else, or even if they go to school locally, they end up getting jobs somewhere else. They don't come back. And so that's one of our big challenges, is to try to give them a reason to come back and to give them an opportunity with a new career that's exciting, that maybe we find a niche and people get excited about it at a very young age and think, you know what, I want to do this. I want to build, whether that's a wind turbine or a jetpack or whatever it is. I want to be part of a team that does stuff this way. And as we create businesses that have niche products or niche applications that you really can't find anywhere else, we're hoping that that inspires our young people to get educated, whether they get educated locally or anywhere else, but then they come back to Anderson to be a part of the growth of the community there. And I think it starts with innovation. I was talking to Mark last night, we were talking about innovation and entrepreneurship really being a language. Learning the terminology and the mindset of how to communicate the idea of new ideas and the idea that you have an opportunity to see a problem and figure out a solution to it. A lot of times people look at what I do, and because it's kind of neat and hands-on stuff that looks like James Bond, shop. It's really, innovation is anything that you do that makes what you see as a problem better. And you are innovating, you are making new that thing, whatever it is. Whether that's a paperwork process, whether that could be an educational process, it could be software, it could be just the steps that you take in order to solve a problem. If you can trim the number of steps you take, you find efficiencies. All of this is part of innovation. And so what we really want to try to help inspire, and you know what, we're learning too along the way what that really means. What does innovation mean? Because it's applied differently to every situation. But effectively, it comes down to taking your blinders off, looking at the problems around you and finding solutions. And being willing to be aggressively looking for problems to find solutions for. And in doing that, then you create niches that are specific to your community, and hopefully you inspire next generations to also get on board with that idea and feel like they're part of the solution, so that when they go get an education, they're coming back to help solve that problem. That's kind of the short version of my story, so I appreciate your time.
People want to make sure, and that was perfect, want to make sure that we leave time for questions.
Absolutely.
So I'll say it again later, but thank you for being here. What questions do we have? He's covered an awful lot of territory, from the conceptual to the specific. First question. Barbara?
I have a son graduating in December with a mechanical engineering degree.
Fantastic.
Are you hiring?
I am really, right now, we are actually kind of downsizing some of my businesses. With the defense business being what it is right now, the defense budgets are so cut back that it's been tough. We think we're going to be re-ramping again in the next couple of years, but we'll probably need to change the administration before that happens.
Pete, I'll toss one out. Not everybody here, I'm sure, is familiar with Anderson. I am, but I think the city itself is about roughly, maybe slightly larger than the size of Hopkins County.
Right.
What about Madison County? What's the rough population?
So Anderson's 56,000, Madison County's about 150,000
Okay.
altogether. So,
Okay.
and Madison County goes from basically where the growth line of Indianapolis is, all the way out into the country. And we have 5, I would say, cities of any substance within Madison County. We have Hamilton, which is about 15,000 people, but growing rapidly because of its proximity to Indianapolis. Anderson, 56,000. Elwood's 15,000. Alexandria's about 6,000, and then LaPelle's about 4,000. So,
Pete, the reason I raised that was, we're not talking about Indianapolis. We're not talking about
Right.
Nashville, Chicago.
right.
Yeah, it's some bigger than what we are. But I guess I was sitting here thinking, there's no reason why our community can't think in some of these directions. We don't need to think, oh, well, we're only this small, because they're not that much bigger.
No, that's right.
And with the growth in our educational system, with the post-secondary building that's coming, et cetera, I think there's a lot of possibilities. So I just want to make that connection.
Yeah, Mark was telling me about your new post-secondary building that's coming, and I think it's an exciting opportunity to do some of that plugging of the brain drain. There was a question back here.
The wind turbine project,
Yes, sir.
sizing, pricing, things like that.
We're packaging the kit at $25,000 for the full turnkey everything. And it's a 3 kilowatt turbine. It's about a 35 foot tower with 10 foot blades, roughly. You can make the tower taller, just depending on how serious you are about the power generation. The taller the better. But you try to keep it to where it can be classified as a residential small industrial turbine. It's not necessarily made to generate power as a, it's not going to replace a lot of your power consumption. It's the equivalent of running maybe a couple houses on average through the year. So it's, it's a decent amount of electricity. And like I said, the return on investment is about 15 years total, so 15 to 17.
Got one.
Sorry.
Can you talk a little bit about the partnerships required to run your innovation center and how that works, and what all pieces are coming together to make that happen?
Yeah, I'll tell you when I know more. I get what you're saying. Really, it's been serendipity that's brought us together at this point. I mean, there has been a lot of just so happened to that went into this, but it's worked out. And so I can share with you the lessons we've learned is working closely between private industry and the city is critical. I mean, you know that being in economic development. But it's more than just businesses doing their business and the city or the county doing the economic development. I think both sides need to understand the other's language. And so one of the things that I've become a student in economic development over the years, and I figured out what companies are looking for and what companies need to succeed. So decoding that for each individual company is really important to do that quickly and understand before, let's say, a city gets presented with these ideas for a new company that comes into town, and they say, if you give us these incentives, then we're going to create this many jobs. Mm-hmm. And that's always sort of the language. It's sort of, we need money so that we can move here, some incentive to move here, and then in return, we'll create jobs. Well, it drives me crazy because in truth, jobs, and like I mentioned before, our company is downsizing right now because the economy is down in our sector. And I'm hoping that it'll come back up. I've had as many as 33 employees. I'm down to 8. So it's tough being flexible. But I also know that we have spent about $13 million developing technology that has value so that when our market flows back in, we will be, first of all, alive to be there for it, and second of all, we will be positioned to be able to go into a production situation where we might be able to create, dozens of jobs. Yeah. Maybe not hundreds, but kind of our technology is a little niche, but we can do this stuff over time if we have a good business model. Gotcha. Jobs are a symptom of something going right. They are not the purpose of economic development. Economic development, if you do economic development right, you establish headquartered companies in your area so that not only the payroll tax from the jobs that are created flow into your economy, but the actual profits that are created by these corporations that are based in your area flow into that economy. And that's much more substantial if you hit a home run. And you also have the opportunity to sustain those jobs and sustain those corporate anchor holds in your community if you're looking to build companies, not just building jobs. Yes, sir.
I understand the part about working with the city and so, but have you worked with the regulatory commission about the different zoning and things like that?
Yeah, and that's been the benefit of working with the city because they navigate that for you. We've been very, very fortunate at this point with a lot of the construction elements of what we have to do with the infrastructure. Infrastructure is very much in the domain of the cities. And so, they have the city engineers, they know what the regulations are, they know how to spin things to get the paperwork to flow smoothly. So I think that's part of the benefit of working with the government officials to streamline that process. Because they want, ultimately, bureaucrats can do one of two things, okay? They can either create work or streamline the work to make things easier. They can either create a path or create work for themselves. And if they are on board with the vision of the individual businesses and the objectives of what those businesses are trying to achieve, they will find ways to streamline that because they don't want to lose that momentum and they want to see the success redound to their reputation as well. If they are against you, they will be obstructionists and they will create barriers, right? How many people have dealt with that? So we're very fortunate to have a good working relationship with our government partners. And it sounds like, just based on Mark being here and just the opportunities that I see here, you guys have that relationship. You have a very willing and hands-on city council and mayor and Economic Development Corporation that I think will serve you well in taking the vision and taking it into reality. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You touched on it, but I'm sitting here thinking Anderson, Indiana has been in a pretty serious economic decline in the last few decades.
Yes, sir.
You touched on it, but what do you envision what you're doing in the way of impact on improving the Anderson economy?
Right. Well, I think the big thing that we're trying to do at this point is inspire innovation. To say that there is hope. I think that's what Anderson needs the most, is it's got a real sense of hopelessness. We've lost 23,000 jobs in our area, and that's a real problem. So we're glad that we're finally in a position where we can start creating different industries, different ideas, and say, yeah, we can do that in Anderson, Indiana. And as we do what we do and start to create new technologies that are headquartered right in Indiana and in Anderson, other people realize that, hey, maybe my idea could work too. So it's not really just about our direct impact, it's more, we do 5 or 6 tours a week through the Anderson Innovation Center for the last year and a half. And that could be school groups, that's different companies that come in, that's government organizations, agencies, from all over the state. They've come in to see what we're doing. Because it's a little bit different. And we're doing it for pennies on the dollar compared to what we're going to be investing in with this new Connect Center. So we've been very fortunate to just have that inspirational aspect to what we do. Whether or not we have a direct impact on creating thousands of jobs, of course I hope that my businesses grow to that point. But whether or not we do that, I think our primary mission of what we can do right now, given the constraints of our economy, is inspire.
Sounds like you're building a culture.
Well, I think that's it. That's it. And it comes down to a language that people understand and communicate with each other. It comes down to a mindset, and then ultimately that leads to a culture. And I think the idea that things are possible, that's a real problem with depressed communities, is that people, after generations, we've lost, since the 1980s, we've lost 23,000 General Motors jobs. There are 0 General Motors jobs in our county.
Wow.
We had a lot of dependency on one company for decades, and then they left.
Yeah, that's right.
And so the cultural repercussions of that is sort of never again do we put all our eggs in one basket. We build headquartered companies that are diverse and spread out through multiple industries, and it's taken time, but we've started to see that happen. Yes?
The analogy, I think, is probably obvious to everybody. Our automotive industry, our eggs in one basket over the decades has been coal here in western Kentucky and specifically Hopkins County. And when it was going strong, the economy of Hopkins County went strong. Same with automotive industry in the Anderson area. Coal's not where it was, and its future, for regulatory reasons, for all kinds of reasons, is not what it once was. Does that mean you abandon it? No. If an automotive industry wanted to come to Anderson again, I'm sure Anderson would embrace it.
Right.
But it sounds like we and you all are realizing, a diverse economy, a differentiated economy is a really, really good thing.
Absolutely.
One other thought, I want to ask you more on your entrepreneurial journey. Do you have kind of an exit strategy that's developing at all?
Yeah, I'm still sort of that guy that just kind of likes to work alone and kind of create things. I created jobs because I needed to see things done. And I've had a great team around me. I mean, I'm really happy with the people that I've had work for me. And you know, hopefully we've had great relationships. Anytime I had to downsize, I actually found people jobs in other companies before I let them go, so I could let them go to someplace. And I care about my people a lot, and they've been incredibly valuable. My hope is that someday I'm able to hire them back, you know, out of our growth. But I think long term, I'd like to just kind of go into a place where I can invent and tinker and then spin ideas off to other companies to make. So my exit strategy is really to kind of grow some of these businesses to a point where someone else buys them out. The Anderson Innovation Center, I would like to transfer to an organization, maybe make it a nonprofit. We talked about that, and sell the real estate to a concern that owns the real estate, holds the real estate, then the economic development part goes into a nonprofit status. We've also looked at some of the patents and things like that. Purdue is trying to help me license those things. So we basically sell the technologies off as a license. I've got about 12 or 13 patents to my name. Probably 7 or 8 of them are worth something right now in the short term. So hoping to sort of sell those things off and create a little bit of a fund and a capability to be able to just do innovation and consult and teach and spread myself out as an individual more. That's my exit strategy anyway. I'm hoping that actually starts taking, I mean, things are in process right now toward that end. I'm hoping by, you know, the end of the year even to be out of a few of these big things. Any other questions?
Other questions?
Well, I really appreciate your time today and the opportunity to share with you. And if you all have any questions, I have some brochures on the Anderson Innovation Center if you want to see some things. Also, the wind turbine project, if there's any interest, somebody mentioned it earlier, but we would love to see if we could extend that idea and package it for other communities to get around. It's an opportunity, again, yes, to generate power, but it's also a statement, and it's something that people can point to that's in motion, that's doing things. It's not just a monument to innovation. It's an actual innovation itself. And the opportunity there, we're licensed. I kind of donated the license to this program to be able to do these wind turbines at cost.
Just a thought and a comment. I don't know if anybody else was aware, I saw a chart one time on the optimum places to put wind-powered turbines. And Kentucky, Western Kentucky was not in there.
Yeah.
It is like a 0. They're rated 0 to 5. And you can see Central Illinois, Louisiana. There's a lot of these that are really great places to put wind turbines. In Kentucky, your payback, I think, would be quite different.
A little longer.
Than optimal.
Yeah, the part of the thing with the payback too is the fact that you've got the billboards on the back of it. So that's part of our advertising dollars that kind of goes into that, and that can be for anyone. The innovation itself, the counter-rotating blades, the two advantages are that it creates about 30% more electricity for the same blade diameter as a single directional blade, but it also has a much lower kick-in power because it uses mechanical advantage from the one blade to turn the other. So your kick-in power goes from 7 miles an hour to 3 or 4 miles an hour to start generating electricity. Which means that even in a low wind area, you're in a position where you can start generating some electricity at those lower wind speeds. And I think that's a big issue because you have a higher starting. A lot of people look at the big wind turbines, the big wind farms. You need a fair bit of wind to even get those things started. This is a small enough scale that you can actually do that at much lower wind speeds and create power that kind of helps balance some of that out a little bit. But you're right, I mean, nature is a big part of that. But again, really, we do the wind turbine project not as a primary, the primary purpose of it is not to generate power. The primary purpose of it is to get the entire community from academia to industry around a project that then gets put up and starts doing something. And that's the idea, is like our community, it's a statement to say our community is doing something. And so that's where we kind of try to package that, and we're seeing if we can take the idea further than just the industry. I mean, it's actually caught fire a little bit beyond our expectations in the local area. Everybody wants one now.
Pete, one other quick closing question, and it's one that is usually on my mind when we have a presenter. You talked about, I think, $13–14 million that's gone in on the R&D side. You've obviously had some funding from the military. Other funding, did you do an equity raise? Just briefly, we've only got a minute or two.
There's nothing really to say. I mean, it's all been organic. We've done it all with sales and not even really R&D contracts. It's been more people, the military buying product from us,
Okay.
and me reinvesting the profits back into the company and the development. So we really haven't. We've never raised capital. Don't ask me how to raise capital. I have no idea. Which is a weakness. It's not a strength. It's a weakness.
We'll talk, Pete. We'll talk.
Yeah. But there is, there's a lot to be said for growing something organically. I mean, we have no long-term debt. We have complete 100% control. I gave 12% of the company to the employees, and the rest of it I own completely. So I can chart my own course. I don't have to spend my time pleasing shareholders in addition to pleasing customers. I can focus on the customer.
Good point.
That's great.
Yeah.
One last question. Anybody have one? All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Great having you here. Okay. Good to see everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday. We're firming up. I think Kevin's got somebody that hopefully may plug in this next week. We'll be putting the word out when that gets firmed up. We've got several weeks planned in the future after that. So see you next Wednesday.
Sorry.